It has been a while since we've got any new information on the finals, and I know the community is itching for just any kind of new information coming out. So today I wanted to put together a video on how and why I feel like the finals will be a contender in the shooter space, and not only that, but also be a contender for Game of the Year. I know it's early to say that, but if you guys want to hear more, make sure to like this video and let's get right into it. My name is LJ and welcome to FPS Guides. So to start it off, I want to talk about the developer team and their relationship with Nexon, and how I feel like their relationship will spell success for this game. So in most instances, Nexon is a games publisher, kind of like how Activision is to Call of Duty, and where Activision oversees the release cycle and ultimately has like the last say on how the game is developed with Call of Duty. But in this case with Embark Studios, Nexon is not the game publisher. They are just a majority stake owner in Embark Studios, so the finals is going to be developed and published by Embark Studios. So what does this mean for the finals? This means that Nexon isn't actually going to be publishing this game, so it gives Embark Studios full control of how they're going to develop the game and when they're going to release it, and they're going to be able to release the game when it's actually ready. Publishers usually just want to make their money back as quickly as possible for publishing the game, whereas a shareholder, they want the company to do well overall. So this creates a little bit of an environment where they need the game, the finals, to be good for them to get a return on their investment. If Embark was to rush the release of the game and then it was just filled with problems that were easily preventable by having a necessary amount of time to properly fix and basically patch all these bugs before the full release, it wouldn't be in the best interest of not only Embark, but Nexon. So when I heard that Embark Studios was not only developing it, but publishing the finals as well, it had me excited. In the last beta, I think a lot of us were seeing some weird performance issues with like frames and laggy servers, and I have a pretty beefy PC, so it didn't really make sense to me, and I saw people in the community, like on their Discord, that were also having problems, and they had better PCs than I do. So it didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and unfortunately in today's day and age with gaming, it kind of seems like these publishers will just put the game out even though it's broken, and then just take the approach of, oh, we'll just fix it later. But honestly, in this day and age, it cannot be like that. Games developers have a very short window to not only hook players and impress them, but to make them want to keep coming back. And if you release a game that's just like a broken mess off the rip and then they just like say they're going to fix it later, it is really not good for games, especially with a new IP like the finals. I mean, you can take an example from 343 with Halo. Halo is arguably one of the most recognizable franchises in gaming history, and there was so much hype around Halo Infinite before it came out, and when it did come out, there was a bunch of huge streamers playing it. The population was huge, but the game crashed so often and it just was a laggy mess, and then like even some playlists didn't work. So it was just a mess. It was off-putting to say the least, and it lost a huge chunk of its player base. Now, fast forward to 2023, Halo Infinite is in a much better state than it used to be, and it is getting a little bit more players, but honestly, I think it's just too late now. Most people have just way too short of attention spans, and there's so many other games out there, so it just doesn't give you a reason to come back to a game that just might not have been working right when you were playing it last. It just doesn't give you an incentive to play it. Can they bring players back? Sure, but it just is not as nearly as successful as it could have been if they released it in the state it is now, back when they released it. It's been a long time since the last beta, and with the precedent that they set with taking in community feedback and properly applying it, it's got me super excited for the finals. So with all that being said, I want to go over a couple key things that will ensure a perfect release and make sure that the finals can really take over the shooter space. So first off, in that earnings call that they had a couple months ago, they said they wanted to have a third and final beta before the game comes out. And so basically, my guess is we'll see this final beta in probably November or December of this year. So something I would like to see is they're making sure that they're fixing all the performance issues that I was talking about a little bit earlier, with how even if you had a really, really great PC, you were still struggling to get a lot of frames, and like the servers were a little bit laggy. So if they're properly fixing these kind of problems, I could really see the finals having just some insane success in the space. Like I said, the window to impress and hook new players into a new IP like the finals, it's very small, but if it's done properly, then honestly the sky is the limit. So if this last beta gives them a good chance to really fix some like performance issues that we saw, I really do believe that we're gonna have an insane game on our hands here. And then number two, they really need to make sure that they're properly balancing weapons and abilities within the game. And honestly, with what they've shown so far in the last betas, they were patching the game over and over and over again and changing things, changing the values of like the turret damage. And I honestly don't think they're gonna be able to screw this one up. And then finally, number three, is on the last of the key things that I feel like they need to do for ensuring the game's success, is coming out with a lot of great, unique new maps right after the release. The map design that we've seen in the finals from the 2 maps that we've seen so far have been really, really cool. And they have like these dynamic elements to them to where every game could be slightly different. It might be nighttime, it might be daytime, it could be foggy, or I think there was like a rain element on it too. And then there's also parts of the map that might be destroyed, like on that one map, the church is just completely leveled. And then there's the city map that has the top mid tower construction site that you can get to on some versions of the map. So with all these dynamic elements that they add within the maps, and then also adding unique maps after release, I honestly feel like you're always gonna feel like you're having a fresh new experience every time you load into a match. And honestly, I cannot wait to see what new maps they add to this game. I think it's safe to say that I'm pretty excited for the finals, and everything I've talked about in this video has been pretty positive. I really don't have that much criticism for Embark Studios so far with how they've been developing the finals. I do wish that we would get a little bit more information from them now, just considering we have not heard from them for a while, but I really do believe we're going to have a great game on our hands. And even though we've had a very small amount of information, I think them saying that they want to have a third and final beta before the game's release, I really do feel like this is going to make sure that they time the release really well. Because if you release a game like pretty close to the Call of Duty's release cycle, it kind of makes it really, really hard to hook and grab new players, because there's just so many people that are just gonna play Call of Duty just because that's the staple in the shooter space. But since we haven't even heard anything yet on the finals third beta, like I said earlier, I feel like we're not going to see it until November or December for just the beta. And then if I had to guess, this is just like me like speculating here, I think that we're going to see like an early 2024 release for the finals. That's just my prediction, but do you guys agree, or do you guys think that we're going to see a very late 2023 release for the finals? Just let me know in the comments below. I'm just saying that I feel like with the lack of news so far, I just don't see it coming in 2023, and I really do believe that 2024 will probably be the year that we see this game. But I could be wrong, and I would be very happy to be wrong, and then we get the game in 2023. I've said this in a previous video, but timing your release around other games is pretty key, and we cannot ignore the fact that Call of Duty is a juggernaut in this space. And you can definitely succeed alongside them, but I feel like if you release the game in a strategic way to where you can really capture some of their players and bring them to your own IP, I really do think that this will be the key to success for the finals. But the finals has a lot of similarities with other games like Apex, Battlefield, and other FPS titles, so I feel like players that play those games will want to come over and try the finals when they see it come out, like in the beta and then when the full release drops. And even though it has similarities to those games, it's got such a weird, like, unique approach to the FPS genre, with it being kind of like a game show. I really do think there's going to be a huge amount of players from other games that are going to just want to try the finals at least once to see if it's good. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on it, as that's the #1 way to help this channel grow and push the video to other people. If you guys have not already, make sure to hit the subscribe button with notifications on so that you never miss any more of the finals videos. And as always, I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. My name is LJ, and this has been FPS Guides.